What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Mortgage Heroes Weekly Podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Will.
And today we're going to go through the trending topics for home buyers, sellers, refinancers, and investors. So we're going to start right at the top. Brian, you brought this to the table because, hey, home buying is all the rage, which sounds weird to say because some of the stats say maybe it's not. But look, 38% of home buyers on average are first-time home buyers.
Yep.
Last year it was 32%. And 2 years ago, it was 26%. So we went from 26% in 23 to 32% in 24. 38% is our average. So what? Are these people right or are they wrong? Are these people buying homes in the right time or are they not, guys?
I think they're starting to come out and starting to buy at the right time. I think from here on out, we're going to start seeing a lot more transactions. The reason being is I feel that there's a lot of deals that are under tapped in the market. And I feel that a lot of people are now starting to, want to negotiate better terms for their, for their house that they're selling. And I think that brings in a lot more, buyers that are willing to, try to buy a house and see what that looks like for them.
So you think buyers are making the right choice by still buying in this market?
Yes.
Memo, what do you think?
No, absolutely. We've been discussing this quite a bit, and I'm just amazed that this continues to be one of the trending topics out there, And so, Brian is right. People are coming out of the woodworks right now. They're starting to see, and I think a lot has to do with what Jerome Powell said. Mm-hmm. Just saying, hey, we're going to be reducing the Fed funds rate. Finally, you guys are, it's true what you guys are saying. We need to reduce these things. So I think people are hearing that. That's resonating for people, and they're understanding because of past experiences, when that happens and the interest rates start going down, affordability starts coming more in your favor, and therefore it opens up the window opportunity for more people. Yeah. So the people that could actually, afford a property now, they're saying, do I really want to go out there and compete as it was as competitive the last few years? Mm-hmm. Maybe I don't want to do that. So I think they're using a smart approach and just kind of exploring their options.
Yeah, one of the things I have been noticing is that a lot of people feel that this market is a hard one. I don't believe it's hard, but rather more of a strategic type of market where you really have to, have a strategy of how you're going to buy a house, know what type of credits you're looking for. But one of the things that I've been noticing more and more when I talk to buyers and sellers is that they're disassociating themselves from the fear of high rates. And they're really looking more towards that payment, which is really what's going to make you or break you. So I've been focusing on having people really understand the difference between the rate and the payment. And when you come to look at it, a higher rate in certain price points isn't as drastic as it would be. When it gets drastic is when you're starting to have those high loan amounts. That's when those 6-7% are going to highly affect you. But if you're still relatively in the 500-600, you can get a credit, bring that rate down, and then maneuver through that higher interest rate environment. But like Will said, we have that light at the end of the tunnel saying, hey, rates are coming down.
So I've been kind of thinking about this in the three A's. To make it simple for everyone, the three A's, you have appetite, affordability, and availability. Mm-hmm. So you have the appetite has completely changed. We've been talking about this, how buyer sentiment is like, hey, look, even if I'm not buying the house just for myself, I am buying it for myself and maybe some potential cash flow down the line or right now. Right now being like day one, week one, month one, or in the immediate future, like the first 3 months, 6 months, if you're doing a garage conversion, or even a year, something like that. Or just long-term. I'm going to be a buy and hold kind of property owner, that kind of thing. So I think the appetite of home buying has changed, and I think the affordability is only going to get better. If we look backwards, those of us close enough to it will say, hey, look, October of 24, we had really, really high rates, right? Well, high, relatively speaking. But if they've been lower than that since then, and they're about to go lower for the summer or fall of 2025, then the affordability is going to get better. And then you have availability. We have way more homes on the market now than before. Inventory's up. All the places that we look to for data are saying inventory is up, but for the most part, prices have still held. Yeah. So if prices have held, the availability is there, your affordability is in check, and your appetite, I'm saying that those three A's are the things driving people right now. That's right.
And you know what? You just hit the head on the nail. What's really happening out there is we're not seeing, price reductions like we have. The purchase price reductions that we are seeing are the ones that people are just trying to overprice their home.
Yeah.
They're not really being realistic with it, and so we're seeing all that. But it's pretty funny when you start seeing all the other people, the prices of the homes are drastic. California is going down. And all. Like, Andy, we're representing buyers. And the reason why our doors are still open is because we're still busy. We're still closing deals, et cetera. And so we're not seeing that. When we're presenting offers to the seller, we have to be strategic. Mm-hmm. we have to identify what is going to be that appetite for that seller to really accept our buyer's offer. And before, it was a time where like, ask for closing cost credit, ask for 2-1 buy downs. Well, guess how many buy downs we've been doing this month? Maybe 1 out of every 10.
Yeah.
It's very different. It's
a
changed.
lot less.
And, keep in mind, we're also approved in 47 states. So not only do we see the representation here in California, but we're also seeing it now in Tennessee, where before we were getting nice seller credits. Now we're not seeing that. So it's just everything goes in waves. Here we are right now. Sellers are willing to, no problem, because we're fearful that our house won't sell. But the average market time for a home is still around 36 to 39 days.
Well, let's take that and go into the next section, because it is talking about sellers. So what are some of the things that like sellers should be aware of right now in the market that's working for the sellers that are getting a house on the market and selling quickly? What are some of the things that buyers can be looking at, of course, but sellers need to know in the readiness of their house compared to all the other inventory that's all of a sudden shown up in the last couple months?
Yesterday's price is not today's price. No, but I think they need to be pricing the house to sell, not to maximize their profits. That season was a few years ago. It's the season that if you want to move your house, you want to get your house sold, you have to play ball and put it at a range where it's incentivizing for other people to want to go and look at it, want to go and actually purchase it. Because if you already price it very high, there's other properties around that neighborhood that aren't as equivalent to that property. They're already going to discard your house for the price that's not fitting that range. So I think pricing it right and giving yourself runway to be able to go up to a higher price is a smarter strategy than pricing it high and coming down.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
There's so many different type of realtors out there that just do their business differently, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So you got the ones that, I'm going to put your house on the market. We're going to put it at a lower price. Let's just say it's, the average market home for that square footage, bedroom and bath count, it's going to be like, let's just say 550,000, right? They'll try to put it like at 510.
Yeah.
Can we create a bidding war, right? There's some agents that take that approach and they'll end up getting sometimes higher than that 550 mark, Then you have those ones that your home selling for 550. No, but I think I've done upgrades and I didn't see that one that did so many upgrades. So I want to try 580 and then they're sitting on the market longer. And what starts happening with that, the tendency of that is that then buyers that are really looking at that property are saying like, why has it been sitting on the market so long?
What's wrong with it?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you are going to be a seller right now, use the proper approach, and you have to really do your due diligence to make sure you're hiring the right agent.
I know something that I've been seeing a lot of is people talking about what can be, and it's not to overlook what the house is, right? But maybe the house's current features aren't that like strong of a selling point. Yeah. It's talking about what it can be. And in our area where we talk about a garage that can be converted, or a second story that can be added, or enough land on the lot that an ADU could be added, I'm seeing a lot of that terminology in like seller remarks, or also just in the property description. Imagine yourself here with the da-da-da-da. So there's kind of like that. And it's not just the multi-generational slant to it. It's actually the revenue stream slant, or the live out what you've been wanting to kind of terminology. So I think it's that like being, first of all, that's happening. But I'm saying that to sellers who are looking to put their house on the market, like understand that the buyer is trying to envision their future at your place as much as they are the next place. Mm-hmm. So whatever your place might have that maybe isn't that like sexy or appealing, well, what is it that they do want there that you could also be communicating to them as what's possible, and then be on your toes for the concession conversation.
Yeah,
that's the other part.
That's a great point. If you're, a lot of times when I'm at my own property, I don't see it like other people see it. And then you get that realtor that comes in and they have the whole vision of like, hey, have you thought of using this lot or turning that garage into a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, unit, ADU? You're in San Diego, you can do that. So it's really good that they're putting these things on the remarks, because then it really does help that first-time home buyer visualize that, have that vision that, you know what, I can do this maybe later. Mm-hmm.
I love that, because and I'm going to use a live example. You guys know, and maybe some of you all know too, is like I'm looking for like ranch and land and space. And one of the things I came across in the last week was a place that had a concrete pad. And I said, this concrete pad is already suitable for mobile home storage, RV, or mobile home, not mobile home, RV storage, boat, or can be used to add a workshop or a greenhouse. And I'm like, oh, that's actually, okay, I just see a concrete pad.
Manufactured ADU.
But it shows me all those, or the manufactured ADU, right? But the description was like, hey, it can be all these things. Like, don't just look at the concrete pad and say it's concrete pad. It could be something that you actually are looking to put here. I think that's really smart.
And I think it goes to like, people are so tunnel vision when they're shopping. They're like, oh, I need this, I need that, I need that they really forget that they can have all this other vision, and they're just looking at the house. Does it have this? Does it have that? But then if you take it a step further, like Andy says, you have a vision. You can then build on it as time comes. It's more like okay, I'm going to park this for right now, but I'm going to work at it as I get into the property.
No, absolutely. You got to give people an idea, help them understand what they can do, and if you have that already in the remarks, that's great because you hired the right person to sell that house for you. They know, they understand, what you're able and capable of doing with that, which is, I think it's really good.
Yeah.
And more people should do that.
Yeah. For me, the right incentive, smart pricing, and, good information is going to help, sell the house a lot faster.
And I love that you guys are making these points because these are the variables and these are the characteristics of the deals that we have buyers in escrow for.
Yeah.
So, it's one thing for us to like posture, oh, these are the things, but it's like, these are actually the things. These are the things that are showing up in the escrows that are right in front of us. So those of you who are on the other side of this conversation, you're like, well, I wonder if that's true and happening. Yeah, that's why we're bringing it up.
Yeah.
So
no, and I'm glad, there's, again, the real estate markets has really shifted. When we first got into the industry back in 2006, real estate was very different than what it is now. We used to not have staging of homes. A lot of times these sellers they're already out. They're like, their home is already closing in, say, Montana, and they're already off to the races. And so they depart their residence, and now their property is vacant. And this is so common. Unless you get that proper realtor, they'll come in and stage the property. A lot of times I like seeing a home that's empty. Yeah, it's empty, but there's no vision. There's no like, where do I put certain things, or how can I do this, or where am I going to hang the TV? But then these stagers come in and they give you these ideas, and you're like, I wouldn't have thought to do, put the bed like that, or put a TV there, or put a dining set of such, and it's pretty cool when people get creative and they do those sort of things.
I agree with you on that because I'm the person that if I see a blank canvas, I see a blank canvas. Yeah, that's it. But then when I walk into houses, I see stuff, I'm like, oh, dude, I never even thought of being able to do that. Oh, I would maybe switch it like this, but I have an idea of what can be done. But if I just see a blank house, like me personally, and I'm sure there's a lot of people like that, oh, well, it looks good, but okay. Like,
yeah,
you don't really visualize what could be done.
Yeah, be aware of what you're selling. I mean, that's just, I think the bottom line for me is just be aware of what you're selling and know what else is being sold in and around you, or the type of buyer you're hoping to attract to your place. Know what else that they would be looking at. Like, just be realistic with yourself. Be honest with what you have in your hands and your possession that you're looking for someone else to take off.
Yeah, that's it. One of the biggest things that I have been seeing is color tones. If you're putting out there like these big reds, these big blues, these yellows, like I'm telling you, there's nothing better than just going back to basic white.
We had a client last year. He was selling his condo, and when they first put it up for sale, that he had green walls all over the living room, the kitchen. The house didn't sell, so they had to go and repaint the walls. They painted them white. And then guess what happened? The house sold.
It's so many of those
so
stories.
silly.
I do share that because it's like I'm telling you, it's pride of ownership a lot of times. And if I'm selling, I do like green, I do like reds, right? And I'm seeing this thing. It's like, well, I like that. It should stay. I'm sure everybody else is going to like that. But you know what? Sometimes it's just best to go basic and go neutral, paint that thing white, and you'd be surprised what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah, it's silly, but it's
little things, right? And it's a small freaking fix. So many times I've seen people just, how do your home inspection go? Oh, well, they have these holes right there. I still just wanted to put and see maybe if the seller was going to be in agreement of making the repair. Sometimes it's not for little things like that.
Yeah.
Things go sideways. Not worth it.
I always tell them if it's within reason and it's not over the top, ask for it.
Ask for it. Ask.
Well, guys, let's pivot real quick and go into current homeowners. So people who own a house, let's talk about the state of like refinancing right now. What should people be looking at? What should they be doing? What should they be avoiding? Yeah. I know that we have been taking a lot of phone calls or DMs from people saying like, hey, what about home equity line of credit? Still because they got this golden handcuffs with these low rates on their first mortgage. So, what are you advising people as far as their home equity? How strategic are you telling them to be? Are you bailing people out? What's happening on the the front lines right now?
We are hearing a lot of phone calls, but it's beyond the phone calls. There's a lot of people that are now tapping into their equity with a HELOC, or they're just thinking of refinancing, Andy. Consumer credit card debt is still increasing. It's still at an all-time high, and these interest rates, they're still high. We haven't seen the Fed reduce the Fed funds rate, so we're not seeing any reduction in that either. So we're seeing these APRs being high where people are like, they're very challenged. Everything they've been doing they've been putting on their credit card. And we see it. Not only are we getting the calls, I like all the calls, but no, these are escrows that are going in, to help rescue some of these clients out of a situation where it's not favorable for them.
Yeah.
And, we have a few where they just have no choice, but we have to do a cash out refinance. Not a home equity line of credit. You have to do the cash out refinance because it just benefits them because their credit card debt is so high that the interest rates are so much higher than just getting an equity line of credit. It makes no sense.
Wow.
It's just best, let's get this, let's pay off that credit card. Because remember, when you get in a line of credit, what a lot of people don't understand, if it's not to repair your home or do home improvements, the interest will not be a tax write-off.
Right.
I'm not a tax person, right? But that's what I've known to happen. In this other case, if you are paying 80, 100, we're seeing more like 180 to 200,000, which is pretty crazy.
For a HELOC?
No, son. I'm talking about a refinance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For a full refinance.
Got it.
It's just beneficial to pay off all that credit card debt and then just have one loan. And now all that interest that you're paying into it becomes a tax write-off. So it's very different than when you're doing a line of credit and I paid off credit card and then you have to prove I want to take tax deductions on this. Well, did it go
they're not
home repair?
They're not for capital improvements.
Now it's different. So there's a greater benefit. And now lines of credit, depending on your credit, and we're talking about people that have $150,000 to $200,000 worth of debt. You're talking about their credit scores are not in their favor either, because remember, it's credit utilization. It affects your credit. You may be making your payments on time, and we see a lot of this. I'm like, what? You had a 780 credit score when we first started. What happened? Well, 2 years later, they incurred all this credit card debt, and now I run the credit, I see everything being paid on time, but the credit utilization is like 80, 90%. And so that affects your credit scores. Therefore, now you're talking about 640, 660. The interest rate on a HELOC is going to reflect that, and it's not too pretty.
It does.
It's not too pretty.
And you're talking about a position now where you maybe have less strategic advantage, then now you're just kind of more being cornered about what you can do.
Absolutely.
Versus like being selective on the best of multiple options.
That's correct. So now at that point in time, it's better to just go with the full cash out because your interest rate's going to be more in your favor versus going with the line of credit that's going to be more like anywhere 12, 13%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it's just, it's great to have options. So what I always tell our clients, and we do these calls quite often, is prepare yourself. Don't wait till the last minute. If you already see that you're getting that debt, let's do a line of credit and let's just have a HELOC right there. The good thing about a HELOC is you're only going to pay based on what you use. So unlike a HE loan where they're just going to give you a lump sum of money, you start making monthly payments. That's not for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Have an emergency plan in case of emergency, break glass open. You know what I mean? Let's have a HELOC on that and let's just see okay, it's there.
Adding on to what Will said, I've been feeling a lot of calls and, past clients want to get the HELOC. And what I've ran into is that the debt to income ratio actually is way too high. What I mean by that is that the monthly payment for your mortgage actually gets calculated for your DTI payment. When you do a cash out refinance, you're not factoring in that monthly mortgage payment, therefore only going based off your monthly payments. So we tried to do a HELOC for one of my clients. We weren't able to because his debt to income ratio with that mortgage payment just completely took us off that 50% range. His goal was to literally consolidate all his debt into one loan. He's paying around $3,000, like $700 in monthly credit card debt. He has 2 big Amex cards that he's literally paying like a whole bunch. And he's like, I don't care what I have to do. I just want to make sure I can consolidate all my debt. So we tried the HELOC route. That didn't work out. And, me thinking like, okay, well, your problem is that you need to pay down debt. Well, hey, bro, you have another house. Why don't we look at, taking some money out from that? We did the math. I compared what the HELOC payment would be, which was like $1,100 for the $100,000 that he wanted to take out. we're going to be doing a cash out refinance, same thing. His payment difference just from the HELOC to his mortgage payment is going to increase by $657. He's currently renting the property for $215,100 a month. His mortgage payment is around $1,600, so he's only bridging a gap of maybe like $300.
Wow.
So I gave him the option: you either have the opportunity of increasing your rent, or you just eat that difference. But you've put back in your pocket over like $3,000.
Well, yeah, he's paying $3,700 in monthly obligations for credit. That's crazy.
Ridiculous. And we just did his refinance last year on his like rate and term, but he's like, hey, I've amounted to all this debt. I literally just want to get rid of it. Like I'm tired of paying all these payments. And after I tell it, I'm like, dude, that's a lot.
And that's the thing. Like every once in a while, I respond to comments in YouTube where people are like, "That's crazy. That's terrible." But like, I that might be not this situation may not be true for you. Maybe you're in a better budgetary situation or whatever. May not be true for you, but it is true for some people who have taken on debt for whatever the reason is. But their house is the only place left for them to get some relief from that. So although it might seem, if you're hearing a story like this for the first time, that what Brian's talking about with $3,700 of monthly obligations, like that is a lot of money. I'm not going to pretend that isn't a lot, but it's also not an over dramatization of what's true for some people. And in high cost areas where equity has gone up by 30, 40, 50% in the last couple of years, the house literally might be the only thing left to help save them.
And keep in mind, he's bringing in maybe a little bit over $8,000 a month. So he's using a lot of his income. He has a second home. Luckily, he splits it with his sister. But the biggest thing here for me was that there is options there. And when you do want to move forward and you have to do something, what I said, disassociate yourself from the fear of the high rates. His first response was, well, what's my rate going to be?
Wow.
And then because he's coming from a 2.625 to a 6.
Nobody wants to give that up.
6.875, right? And he's like, yo, like, what the hell? But I'm like, yo, Jules, let's look at the numbers. Let's break it down. This is how much you're paying over here combined. This is how much you'd be paying now. What's the difference? He's like, well, it's only like $600. Like, I'm like, exactly. But look how much money you're putting back in your pocket. He's like, all right, let's do it. Like, it makes sense. And I think those are the conversations we need to be having with our clients when they fear the rate. Oh, my rate, this and that. Well, let's look at the payment. How does the payment look like for you? Let's focus on that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, Brian, because it's one thing for people to think that we just played that quick, their little convenient shell game. No, don't look at the rate. No, don't look at the price. It's like no, that's not what it's about. It's about the entirety of what's happening and what the outcome is of that thing. And again, like I'm talking like we take a shellacking in the comments, which it's not always bad, but for those of us who have these conversations regularly with people, it's not about redirecting their attention off of something that's bad. It's about helping people remember what it is they asked us for in the beginning. Like, we need relief. I need help. How can I get out of this situation? And sometimes the answer is not the most prettiest answer, but it's the most functional for the time being. And you can address it later. Long-term, play this one out. If he is in a situation where there is the inability to continue paying for that house in 5, 6, 10, 12 years, you can still sell the house. So you can still sell the asset because you own it. So those of you on the outside looking in of real estate, sorry, you can't do that right now. But owners, and you're in the situation that Brian's talking about, you still have an out on the other end of this.
And that was his goal. He's like, I need to tap into my equity. He wanted to go the HELOC route because of the rate. He's like, I don't want to touch my low rate. But when the motivation is bigger than that payment or that rate like factor, then you're really going after, the actual problem. And that's what we solved. We're like, hey, forget, the rate. I get it. It's a higher rate. But do you need the solution? And is it here? He's like, yeah, so let's do it.
The good thing is he put himself in a great position to actually own 2 properties, right? And these things happen. So
VA client.
In case of emergency, these things happen. If you had no home, where do you go to, right?
You don't.
Well, let's just say that they were really good and they put money in their retirement plan and they're able to do that. You're still tapping into a place where you're thinking, I'm going to utilize this money for retirement. But now I can't do that because I got to get out of a situation where maybe I had a family situation that I had to pay somebody else's debt. Very common.
Yeah.
Probably had an accident that didn't have the proper insurance, had to cover that, or probably went to the hospital, my medical bill, my deductible was X amount, and they didn't cover certain things. These things happen. These are these are true life events that do happen, And so a lot of times, as much as we want to be well prepared, we're not. But the beauty of it, that if you did own a home and you've owned it for many years, that property went up in value, and now you have something where you can lean back on and help you support a situation to get you out of a situation you didn't want to be in. And then you kind of learn a lesson. Then you go back and you're like, maybe building a budget now is going to have to be an important thing so I can really understand how to utilize my credit and keep those high credit scores, you know, where they're supposed to be at in order to have more options. Yeah. And sometimes that's just a situation we put ourselves in and we have to go and learn it. You know, and there's just times, I mean, I'm sorry to use this and I feel very bad for the people in Texas, you know, for everything they're going so hard they work for, and these floods just came out. You think they planned that?
No, you can't do nothing about that.
But they're going to have to now figure out a solution how to get around it. Yeah. You know, and these are the things that are happening with us right now. It's unfortunate that, and I'm going kind of sideways with this, but the economy says we're doing great, but I don't see that happening. And most people, I'm getting more and more of the calls like, what do I do? How do I tap into my equity? How do I get out of this situation? I need to pay off this debt. I don't want to lose that 2.25% interest rate. And some people are just giving into it and just saying, you know what, the hell with that, because I need that emergency fund so I can get out of this and I can feel like, whoo, I can breathe. And guess what happens when you can breathe and you start paying off your debt? You start thinking clear. It's a funny thing what the mindset shift does. And now you're like, whoa, now I will control this. I can do that. And as you start building yourself up, if you put yourself in a mindset where, hey, if I had $3,000 worth of debt, right, and I paid off everything now, I'm going to just start putting $500 back into my principal, or I'm going to throw into a retirement account where I'm earning higher interest than what I'm already paying.
You're already used to paying
There's
that.
other ways to leverage your situation. Yeah. And those are the things we teach.
Yeah.
One thing we don't do is take orders.
And I think that's the part of this where this it's the strategic and tactical part is, you know, it's one thing to kind of get out of the bad situation, but it's another to then turn that into something that's tactical and actually advances your financial situation in other aspects,
Absolutely.
whether it's advancing your pay down of your mortgage or saving it or saving plus investing it. That is a really smart way to take that, what would be sort of perceived as a negative, and turn it into a positive.
I mean, Andy, we have a situation right now that we're going through. The person's going through pre-foreclosure right now. And his equity's being eaten up right now by, one, I can't make my payments. Second, I'm incurring attorney fees on it. And so what are they going to end up making at the end of the day? They should have kind of revisited the situation. Luckily, we're representing the buyer and getting a good deal, you know? So it's working out for us. But for the seller, unfortunately, you know, sometimes it's too late. Your credit is now messed up, so there's no other options. And then a lot of times, if your property has so much, you know, a certain amount of equity, you can do, you know, a loan with the hard money. But now we're talking about a way higher interest rate, and the terms may not be in your favor.
Yeah, it's almost worse.
Absolutely, they kind of put you in a position to fail, right? Because you're ultimately like, hey, it's the instrumental tool is the property, and that's smart protection. So
but it's high risk on both sides.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So those are things we are seeing. Not as much as we thought we probably would see, but
the reason we're seeing it from my seat, the reason we're seeing it is because we all thought that by summer of 2025, we'd be in a different interest rate environment, and we just aren't. So I think part of this that's happening is a result of, I'll say, a delayed rate softening environment that we thought we'd be in now. Like I thought maybe we'd be in the lower sixes. By now, we're not. We're not around that, or high fives in some cases. We can be, I think, historically, where we're going to settle is that 5.5 to 6.5. When we're a couple of years down the road and we look in the rearview mirror at right now, we're going to go, oh man, that was that sweet spot. We should have been at 5.5, but we're not.
Right now, if we were in the low to mid fives, we'd be busy. Last year, we were around the same time, like in August, September.
That's right.
We were there, and we got inundated.
Just slammed.
Because it's a big difference in payment for some people, you know? Again, we got to consider that the median sales price of a home at that time was like the high 800s. It makes a huge difference when your rate drops by 1 to 1.5%.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, those are car payments for some people. So it does make a difference.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I want to go next to talking about investors. You know, what's going on with investors these days? I know here locally things have changed with the ADU rules. I know the cost of borrowing money has changed. I know buyer appetite is still there, but affordability in some parts of the country is not, but inventory is there. So from an investor perspective, is it smart to get into real estate now? Is there a reason why you should maybe wait? Let's weigh the differences of waiting versus going in. And what are some of the things facing investors right now when it comes to financing and buying real estate?
Listen, right now, investors, I just saw this in Bigger Pockets. 1 out of 5 buyers is an investor. 1 out of 5 buyers is taking advantage of somebody else's opportunity.
Yeah.
To do a fix and flip, to do a fix and hold, to do a ground up construction on it. There is different ways of how investors are looking at properties now.
Yeah.
Because of all the creative type of financing that they're able to obtain, these DSCRs, these fix and flip, ground up construction. We can do fix and flip with 10% down, no experience. It's just, I'm just glad we got into that industry in 2023. We had to adjust. We're always so used to traditional financing, our VA, conventional, FHA, USDA, not much of that. But in 2023, we had to readapt the way we do business. And so we're like, well, tell me more about fix and flip. How difficult is this? And now that we're seeing it more and more, it's like, I got intrigued. We're doing a lot of those loans now. Yeah. And it's all about, again, aligning yourself with the proper partner to help your investor that's purchasing that property, and you being that soundboard and guidance for them to get into a good deal and making sense of that.
Yeah. And to Will's point, I feel like it's not easier to buy an investment property right now, but it's more accessible to buy one. What I mean by that is that, like Will said, you can come in with 10%. You're not using any of your personal income. You can JV with somebody that has the money if you find the deal. You can have the seller carry some of that, financing for you. There's different ways to skin the cat. Whereas if you're buying a regular property, you're capped at your income, your credit, your debt to income ratio. And as long as the numbers make sense on the investment route with 10%, you have your closing costs, you have a deal all day, and lenders will lend you the money. We're doing this all the time. It's true, but I just think it's a little bit more sexier for people to want to go that route, because it's like 10% down. I could do that. Yeah. I could do this. They're giving me a whole bunch of budget to go and do whatever repairs I want. I might just buy a few rentals before I even buy my primary, or get into investing before I even buy a primary. Why? Because they make it a little bit more accessible than buying your per residential property, which is kind of weird, because it's like you're buying a house to do business with, but then the house that you live in, you get scrutinized.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like skewed, but at the same time, I'm not saying it's easier. It's more accessible.
Yeah, I think that the difference I see in the market right now is that it's better if you're trying to do a value add and hold than trying to just turn something quick. I think the turn something quick has mostly run its course, unless what you're buying, you're going to immediately add square footage to, add extra rooms to, add a second, third, or fourth unit to. That's why I'm also saying it's more of the buy and hold. And I'm only saying that from the outside looking in. I do not currently do this, but what I am seeing more people do, and less, is seeing more people do the buy, convert it to what you want, and then hold it in the portfolio versus, do you see any house flipping commercials anymore? Do you hear it on the radio anymore? Do you see internet advertisement for flipping houses anymore?
Well,
Like
it's
singles?
very,
No, mostly
I'm gonna say it's very
multi-units.
Very difficult to answer that question, because one, everything's changed. It's changed how I watch TV.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I think it's changed in that way, where it's less flippers and it's more buy it, update it, or buy it, convert it, add to it, and then hold it.
Yeah, honestly, I see it differently. I see a lot of fix and flips still going on. And what I mean is, and I understand what Brian's saying, it is difficult. It's more difficult right now to find that deal.
Yeah.
But most, Andy, that are starting are starters. These ones that are buying 1 out of 5, they're beginners. And so the only way they're able to actually build up income is they have to fix and flip. They cannot do the fix and hold. Okay. So that's what we deal with. It's going to be more beginners that have done 1 to 5, fix and flips. They need to build up, gain that confidence, see if they can get other investors to go in it with them. Then they'll possibly start thinking about creating a portfolio. But for now, the majority are doing fix and flips. That's going to put another $50,000, $80,000 in their pocket. And a lot of them here in San Diego, they want to make, if I'm making 50, 60, that's good.
That's their margin. Yeah.
That's their margin. That's good. It is a little tighter right now because the market is shifting, and because a lot of people are overpricing their homes. We're starting to see a little bit of the price declines. Therefore, you have to be really, really crafty on what your exit strategy is going to be. For me personally, I'm not into a fix and flip. I'm looking at a property right now. And you know what? I actually wanted to throw a shout out to Pace Morby, Ty De Leon, Adrian Hernandez. We bought 2 properties subject to, and one's about to be completed. And so, man, shout out to these guys. I wouldn't have known otherwise. I got creative. I had some money. I figured out what the bleeding neck for the seller was, negotiate the best terms and conditions that benefited both of us. And now the project's going to be done. In another few months, I'll be able to refinance my 3-unit project. I'll be able to DSCR that, pay what I owe the seller, and get it done with. And then now the next project continues. So I'm very pleased and thankful to these people, because if you pay attention to the way they do creative financing, it is freaking awesome. It is unreal, And so now with these fix and flips of what we're saying is, we're trying to just get creative the way it is. 10% down, cover all your rehab costs, and you have to be at a 75% ARV. If you guys don't know that, just give us a holler. We'll tell you how it is. Mm-hmm. It's freaking pretty awesome. We're seeing a lot more realtors getting into this game, that realtors that we work with, and they're saying, well, wait a minute. I don't have to go and claim all this income. I can still take my deductions, and I don't have to go W-2, and I can just buy with 10%. And then you'll give me the property to do, yeah. And then what's next? How do we do that next? Like, how am I going to be able to refinance? Well, that's where it gets tricky. Now we got to see what the market rents are so we can turn that property into a DSCR. And if that's the case, that's the way to do it. And that's how you really start building that real estate portfolio that people are looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially as realtors, you guys are on the front line. You guys are seeing houses all the time. And it occurred to me, once like we were working with other realtors, I'm like, you could just take this down yourself if you really wanted to, but it's, just getting them that information. And I feel, like I said, it's more accessible, but I feel more now than ever, a lot of more people are leaning in towards this because it is a great capital starter. It does start you from there, but I feel a lot of people is the bare minimum entry is through fix and flip. And from there you progress into other
absolutely.
Yeah.
What I hear you saying too is that wherever the math is mathing, then trust the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So if there's math and there's margin, then you probably have a deal in front of you.
That's it. And you got to be very particular too. Like one of the things as an investor, the things that I look at and I help my other investors look at is, if it's in a busy street, don't. If it's the property's backing the highway, don't. That noise, the traffic, it just may not work. And if you're looking at properties, always look maybe like a 2-1. If it's going to be a fix and flip, make sure that you already understand with the city how fast you can do a permit for an extra bathroom and bedroom, because the tendency of a 3-bedroom, 2-bath selling is far greater than a 2-1.
Wow.
Yeah, so
you're right. Tricks. All those conditions around the property are really primary. I know I'm saying a math comment, but also you're right. I can't just say the math works. Like the appetite and the opportunity in the neighborhood has to work for someone who's looking to live there.
And now with the new rules within ADUs being built on a cul-de-sac, all that stuff, you got to be mindful. You have to have the right strategy team to go in it to help you understand.
Yeah.
The great thing is we're surrounded by all these people that help us and support us with our vision of that property. So if we tell them, hey, we're in the cul-de-sac right now, can you give me a feasibility study on this? What we are able and capable of doing right now with this property with the new ADU rules change. Because in a cul-de-sac, we need to now have better parking structure. And if you don't have that, it's not like before where you can just, hey, you have an FAR of this, you can stack up for ADUs.
16 units.
No more of that.
Yeah.
That's changed for cul-de-sac, so it's really good to understand what your rules and regulations are.
So what do you guys want people to do if they're watching this segment of the show in this section and they want to reach out to you guys? What is it you want them to know before they call you?
Understand what you're getting yourself into. And that starts by having a conversation, really running your numbers, seeing your plan, and then putting that into a strategy. I think understanding what you want to do before you do it is going to give you a lot of clarity once you actually take that action. And it's not like, analyze and then get paralyzed. No, it's, take some time, plan it out, and then consult with a professional.
I said I didn't know, but because I was so excited with everything else. But no, absolutely. Just even if you don't know, just come and ask the questions. If you never owned a property, just have a conversation. What is it going to entail to get to a property? And can I even get in a property? Because that's so important. A lot of times we think we're not going to be able, or the process is very difficult, so it kind of detours us from even making that initial call. Don't let nothing deteriorate you. Just set your mind with it. The consultation's free. The questions are free. Nothing's going to cost you. I keep hearing a lot of people, oh, I'm going into, Google. Google is just the search. Google, you cannot search personal situations. Very difficult for you to get the proper answer when it's so personal, like, I've never owned a home and my income is $3,000. Like, it's very difficult. It's going to take you through the rabbit hole, and you just may not want to see what you want to see, or and you're just going to be discouraged and not really take the proper approach.
Yeah.
So it's just ask away, you know,
Yeah.
and you don't have to be here in San Diego. Call anybody that's already owned a home. Hey, who's your loan officer that you trust, and kind of go from there.
So kind of no matter what, fire away.
Exactly
All
that.
right, sounds
I
good.
think
Exactly
if you
that.
think it's a dumb question, ask it, because I guarantee you 100 other people have that exact same question.
So even if you have a dumb question, ask Brian. He'll let you know if it's dumb or not.
That's a dumb question. Don't ask that.
Thank you guys for a great show today. Brian, what's one big takeaway you have from today?
My big takeaway is that, you know, I feel that right now it's more important to, you know, really condition our buyer sellers mindset to understand the market and, you know, take, you know, their personal feelings, understand those, but find a way to segue that into how we can help bridge the goals and get them there. I think, you know, focusing on rates, focusing on the stuff you can't control it. So focus on what you can control, your strategy, your attitude, and the people you surround yourself with.
That's
How about
right.
you, Memo?
My biggest takeaway has been that there's options out there for everyone. It's options that I never thought. Like I mentioned, we went back to 2023 and we adjusted. Now we do a ground up construction. We're doing DSCRs. We're doing fix and flips, fix and holds. Like, we're getting creative, and we're finding the right team to support that creativeness for our clients. So options. That's the biggest thing. I didn't know we had all those options, but it's not until you start wanting to adapt to your new environment of what's going on that you're really going to be a little more open-minded and say, it's time to learn something new so that I can have more options.
Yeah.
So for
Good.
me, options.
My biggest takeaway is your story, Brian, about your client who has $3,700 a month of debt obligations. If you are in a position right now where you are a homeowner and you are silently suffering underneath the crushing weight of your monthly payments, please ask for help. There are dozens of times during the year where people come to us at the last minute, or in some cases too late. If you are feeling like it might be too late, let us try to find out if it's too late or not, and give these guys a shot to actually run some numbers for you and figure out if you taking action is the right thing to do. And then I'll also say this with a dose of loving accountability, which is, if you can, use your house's equity to get you out of the position where you are at financially, make the next right choice in getting your financial life fit again, and start those new behaviors so that you don't find yourself in the same cornered position.
Absolutely.
Agree,
Yeah.
100%.
Good advice.
Yeah. So thank you guys. Thank you guys again for another great show this week. And thank you all for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel, like this video, of course, turn on notifications so you catch every video every time we launch a new one. If you have any questions, of course, you can put it in the comment box, or you can reach out to the guys directly if you have a scenario you need us to run for you. We appreciate your support of the channel, and thank you for sharing this with family and friends. We will see you guys again next week.
All right. See ya.
If you enjoyed this video and you want more of our content, subscribe here. And if you'd like to watch another video right now, click here.